Welcome to
Hey, we're live.
We are live. And Mark has a haunted pumpkin behind him there. It's saying something, but we can't hear it. But that's usually my role.
He's whispering in my ear.
Yeah. We have Melissa Bowerock with us today, who's a writer and an expert in many things, and appeared with Steve, whose last name I can never pronounce, on the Dead File. So we will have her talk about her experience with that. We'll also talk ghosty shows and all kinds of things. With me today is the beautiful and talented Mark Tanner, and who happens to be my brother. And he didn't wear a costume, so he's going to do moose ears every once in a while. Oh, and he is wearing the famous Flak t-shirt. And by the way, we still have Flak t-shirts. We sold one. So we have large, extra large, 1XL, 2XL, 3XL, 4XL. And now we have small and medium. So get your orders in. It's $25. And you PayPal it to melody23@gmail.com. And we'll ship it out the next day. I'm a really good eBayer. Well, sort of. Anyway, I have a couple things I wanted to talk about. One is, yes, in fact, I had 120 pounds of birdseed delivered to my front door yesterday. My husband, well, this will tell you how strange I am, how weird life with me is. My husband just watched them unload it and thought, and I'm sure the kids in our neighborhood were going, "Oh God, the worst candy ever!" So of course, I said no. I did not order 120 pounds of wild bird seed, and called up Walmart, and they said, "Moo," and their delivery company went, "Hmm." So we started thinking, who around here would order 100 pounds of birdseed? And we suddenly realized, oh, our neighbor, Amy, who is a high school math teacher and who is very, charitable, and she takes care of animals. And I bet it was Amy. And she lives one street down on a corner house. We live another street behind on a corner. So it would be an easy mistake to make. So we went over there and said, did you order 120 pounds of birdseed? And she said, "You got it?" And we knew we'd found the one. Anyway, so first of all, how is Halloween at your house, Mark? How are the kiddos?
Oh, good. Connor is Dash from The Incredibles, and George is a witch.
Oh, cool.
But it's like a real sparkly LOL witch.
Yeah. Yeah. Allie sent the pictures over. Allison is my niece, Mark's daughter, and the children are her children. So that's his grandkids. And we have, I'm sure, about 8 million children coming on, because we have a tradition every year that any small Halloween or even non-Halloween stuffed animals I have left over that I don't think will sell in time for Christmas, I put on a box on the porch, and I put free toys. Pick one and leave, or pick one or two and leave the rest for others. And, so we have that out, and usually that pretty much guarantees our candy will be gone. So anyway, it's always fun here, and I am a grown woman, 61, almost 62 years of age, dressed like a mouse. And I actually wore this to the supermarket because I had gotten dressed and we would, oh, good, we can need stuff at the market. So I ran up to Aldi, and of course, every third person, oh, that's so cute. Where did you get that? Yes, sir.
Wait a minute. You ran up to Aldi's? How did you get there?
Laura.
Ah, okay. What a lot of you may not know is my sister does not have a driver's license.
That's right.
She had one at one time. She had a Volkswagen Bug. She crashed it, and that was it.
Yeah.
She was done with driving.
No more driving. I wrecked myself bad. So
Many of us are alive because she didn't drive anymore.
exactly. Right. It's my public service. That and I never had biological children. Both of these are serious gifts to humanity. However, I do have a son that I inherited I got in a package deal with his dad. So Ben is he's wonderful though. He's a great young man, a great man. He's not that young anymore. And anyway, what's the matter, Mark?
Oh, sitting here, it looks like I have antennas.
Yeah.
I was trying to see what it was behind me.
Oh, okay.
Just a couple of books sitting on the shelf, tilted.
Yeah, I can guarantee you.
But it looked like my favorite Martian, you know.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I immediately thought of. You can tell we're old. Speaking of Laura, it's okay. My personal assistant, say hi. 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 She's also our niece. And she just brought me a soda. So.
In case anybody wonders, the pumpkin behind me is called Jabberin' Jack.
Yes.
And it's available on Amazon. And I think it was about $40. But this is our third Halloween with it, and it works great. You plug in a USB battery to the back of it, and it talks. You can hear it, but I turned the volume down, so otherwise it would be overwhelming us. But in case you want one, that's what it is.
Yeah, I doubt get it in one day though. Right? No, it wouldn't. No, you could pick it up at the Amazon store because they have stores now that you can go to and pick it up. I'm sure they're sold out. But you never know.
Now, there's also a company called Atmos FX, ATMOSFX, and they make things that you could project onto like chiffon, and it'll look like a ghost or something in your house. It look like you have, and I've got a bunch of those, but I bought it intending to set it up and have it at Halloween, but then I just have never done it. So I've got this nice projector and all those files and everything, but
Hey.
oh well. Well, you know what the thing is here at my house is if we get 3 trick-or-treaters, it's a good year.
Really?
Yeah, just for some reason where we're at, no trick-or-treaters. It's just nothing. I don't know why, but that's the way it is.
Well, I know, especially since you got lots of kids in the neighborhood, or you used to.
Well, now there's only one kid. Well, I had 2 kids. 2 kids in the neighborhood. They both live next door.
Okay. Well, that's good for Connor and Georgia.
They don't like their kids playing with. I don't know. For some reason, they don't go out and play except with their parents.
Oh, that's bad.
I don't know why, but hey, it's their business.
Yeah.
We're live now, so I don't want to say anything too bad.
Yeah.
Somebody might know them.
Yeah.
No, they're nice people. It's just That's their thing.
Yeah, well, you know, everybody. Are they from another culture?
No.
Well, you never know.
Nope.
All right. Well, we have tons of children, and locally, and we have the one kid every year who wears his scream mask every year, and he hits a button and it does things, and you know.
Oh, he's got the voice changer with it.
Yeah, the whole
Yeah.
$300 mask. And so last year he came up there. I said, "Hi, Douglas." He goes, "No, I'm Steven. Douglas gave it to me." What?
Okay.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to broach, since we talk about eBay on here now, is something I've been noticing, and it's kind of annoying, but it's not really on eBay. It happens on YouTube. We have a lot of these influencers to wannabes. They get on here and give information. And one of them in particular is very good. I mean, he gives good information, but he's been saying something that friends of mine, and I know a lot of people in my circle who do sell on eBay, I wanted to correct him on something, and I'm not going to give his name for obvious reasons, but he gives prices for plush that he can get. The reason he can get this is he makes 10 grand a month. He sells a lot of plush. And when you sell in those quantities, the algorithm works with you. He's going to be one of the first names that they're plush that they see when it comes up. And they like him because he sells a lot. And so therefore he can get $35 for a Build-A-Bear. The rest of us, we got to get what we can get. So there, on the other hand, there are all these people who are putting up Build-A-Bears for $5 and Beanie Babies for $3. That's ridiculous. You don't do that if you do a good search on good, dependable information sources for the item that you're listing, and just sort of ignore the opinions of others unless they fit your sources. And my brother is typing. What you typing, Mark?
Huh? I typed you a message. I guess you didn't get it.
Oh no, I'm on my iPad. So
I just put 2 minutes till Melissa.
oh, okay. Thank you. Just kill me. I'm old. I'm stupid.
Well, I know, but you tried to do that so it's not like on the air.
I got you.
I just didn't want to leave her sitting in the dark over there waiting for us.
No. Okay, I'm going to bring her in, and I'm going to have to disappear for a minute to do it.
Okay.
So let's see. How am I going?
So you'll have to put up with just me for a minute.
Yeah, it's true. I'm going to.
Me and my friend.
Yeah. I'll be back.
Okie dokie. Me and my friend Jack over here. Jabbering Jack. Wow. We still have the wall. Oh, now the wall's gone. Oh, wall's back. Gone. There. Gone. Now, is this exciting or what? Now, I'm sure there wasn't anything better that you could have done on a Sunday besides come here and watch us.
They're my friends. Of course they didn't.
We frequently have technical difficulties, but
yeah. I'm very sorry. I'm having to work on my iPad because I came in late. All right, let me add to stream. Oh. Hello, Melissa.
hey.
Hey, hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, Melissa Bowerock.
Hi.
Am I pronouncing your name right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
It's
not like
been anglicized pretty badly.
Ah.
Yeah.
You know, I always am concerned because, you know, when you're talking about names that are longer than, you know, this, it's sometimes they can sound very different. But
That's true.
anyway, we have discussed my birdseed anomaly of yesterday and various eBay things. So now we're going to talk about you.
Okay.
Now, how did you come? I must tell my own story first.
Okay.
I was watching the Dead Files,
Mm-hmm.
and as I do, the Dead Files is a ghost reality show with probably the best real medium in the world working on it.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Amy Allen. So I'm watching this thing, and up comes, you know, he says, Steve, I can't pronounce his last name.
You know, I had it down at the time, but I've kind of forgotten it now.
Yeah. Steve, the ex-police officer who is her second on the show.
Yeah.
Good old Steve.
Good old
Yeah,
Steve.
good old Steve.
That works.
It's an Italian last name.
Yeah.
I'm married to an Italian, but I think
Clark?
it's cursed.
Clark Arini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm sitting there, and up on the screen flashes the name Melissa Bowerock.
Huh. What do you know?
And I'm going, what? It's one of those, you know, glitch in the Matrix moments when you think, what?
Yeah.
What? Huh? So I'm sitting there, and sure enough, it's Melissa. And she's talking to Steve. So, cue your experience.
Okay, well, it was funny because at the time I was living in Camp Verde, Arizona, which is about 30 miles from Sedona. And I got this email one day from a gal who said she was with was it the Travel Channel?
Yeah.
And wanted to know if I would like to be on the show and please call her. So I called her up, and she said they were investigating the haunting of the Relics restaurant in Sedona and wanted to know if I would like to be on the show as an expert. And I told her, I said, I am not an expert on Sedona. I mean, I live close, you know, but I'm no expert. And she said, no, that's okay. She said, you know, we will give you the information that you need to give to Steve. But she said, we have found that we like to have authors because authors know how to tell a story. And I thought, oh, okay, that makes sense, you know. So I said, sure, why not? So I met with the producer beforehand. We met in Sedona and kind of hashed out what would happen. And they gave me the information that I needed, and I did, you know, some of my own research just so I had it clear in my head what I was going to talk about. And when the day came, we drove to Sedona. And I don't know if you're familiar with Sedona. There's a place called Poco Diablo, and it's a resort, and it has a little 3-par golf course. So we met him down there, and my bit was going to be down by Oak Creek. So Steve and I were going to stand down by Oak Creek, and I was going to, you know, tell him what I knew. So the setting was fabulous. I think this was in, I want to say September, but I'm not sure, but it was just beautiful. And, you know, met Steve and talked about what we were going to do and everything. And, you know, the crew was all set up and they had their reflectors and all their cameras and everything. But actually, once we got to going, I was just talking to Steve. We were just having a conversation, you know. And like I said, I did my own research as well. So I had all the information in my head. But it was kind of funny because the first couple of takes, I said too much. I went into too much detail, and they said, "Okay, we don't need to know that," you know. Um, so I had to kind of pare it back a little bit. But the funny thing was that at the time, my husband was volunteering at Fort Verde, which is in Camp Verde. And so I had a lot of the background about the Indians and the cavalry and what went on and stuff like that. So I was, kind of bringing all this up, and they're like, no, we don't need to know about that. So, but so Steve and I really just had a conversation about it, and it was very cool because we did, I don't know, maybe 3 takes or something, and they all said that was good, and one of the guys, I think the producer, said, "Can we use you again? You're so easy to work with." And I said, "Hey, sounds like a deal to me," you know. So I have not heard back from them, but I thought that was a nice compliment. I don't know, maybe he says that to everybody, but it was just fun. And I really didn't think much of it. You know, when the show came out, we watched the show and everything. Matter of fact, I think it's on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure it's on iTunes also. It's called Burnt Offerings.
Yeah.
And it's about the Relics restaurant. But a while later, I don't even know how long, 6 months later, whatever, I was thinking about the show and how would I write that? If I was going to write that, how would I write it? So the first thing I did was I flipped the genders because, of course, Amy's female, Steve is male. So I flipped the genders. So in my universe, the medium was the man, and the researcher, the nuts and bolts person, was the female. And I wanted my medium character to be very spiritual. So I made him Native American and made him a Navajo, which is interesting because the Navajo don't like to truck with the dead. You know, they believe that you don't interfere with the dead, because if you do, they will either get lost off their journey and stick around, or especially if you piss them off, they're going to stick around, you know. So they really kind of don't want anything to do with the dead. So that was an interesting aspect that I had to kind of figure out how I was going to present that, you know, since my character Sam was obviously dealing with the dead. But I would say within, I don't know, 20 minutes, I had my 2 characters, and I thought, okay, I'm going to write this book. And then I thought it could possibly even be a series. I could see it being a series and doing hauntings in different places and whatever.
Yeah.
And here I am, I don't know, 5 years later, and just released book number 32.
Yeah.
And it just amazes me because I keep getting new ideas. And as long as I keep getting new ideas, I'll keep writing them down.
I admire you for your ability to write like that. Poor Seamus Bede is still stuck in the White City.
Yeah.
He will eventually get out, but
yeah. Okay.
It's all I can do to write my shopping list.
Well, and
my brother is senior engineer at Red Cameras. Is that what you're called?
Red Digital Cinema. We make motion picture cameras. And I heard you were a fan of space stuff. I worked for 2 years for Elon at SpaceX.
Oh, is that right? Oh,
yeah.
Fun. Yeah, I am a space junkie. Yeah, I worked at the National Observatory in Tucson for 17 years. And that was like a kid working in a candy store, you know. I worked with astronomers and engineers and everything. And that was great because if I had questions, which of course I always did, oh my God, you give these guys a whiteboard and a marker and they're off to the races, you know, and they'll be explaining whatever to me. That was a blast.
You know,
talking about observatories, I have to mention, when I was working at Northrop, we had a lady come out and work on our machine. Come to find out, she literally was a rocket scientist. And right? She had written the software to grind the lens for a telescope in Utah. I forget where it was at.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And she was like 23 years old and had written this software to grind a lens. She worked for Zeiss,
Okay.
which is, they make lenses.
All right, one of the big glass makers. Yeah. Yeah.
So I realized that wasn't as interesting as it seemed like in my head when I was.
No.
No, it is. It is.
You know what's funny is our grandfather. He was a carpenter. He was not a rocket science, but he worked at Angela's Furniture on a machine that no one else knew how to run.
Yeah.
He had been taught by the man who built the machine,
Oh,
and he
okay.
was told, "Don't teach anybody else to run the machine. When you retire, you choose one other fellow, young person, and
Uh-huh.
teach them how. But that's your job guarantee."
Yeah. Well,
So,
true.
they brought in Executive Suite. The film was produced at Angela's Furniture and was filmed there.
Okay.
They went up and said, "Oh, we have to have this machine in the shop. This is great." And he says, "Here, teach one of our extras to run the machine." And the boss looked at him and said, "If you can teach one of your extras to run the machine, we'll pay him more than you do."
Yeah.
So they had to have our grandfather in the scene in Executive Suite.
Yeah. How cool.
Name of the movie.
So if you watch it, he's got a Hogan hat
Yeah.
and suspenders, and he's got his back to the camera, but you can tell him he's real thin and tall.
Yeah.
So you can tell, hey, that's my grandfather.
How cool.
He got to have lunch with Bill Holden.
Yeah.
He and Bill Holden talked about fishing the
Oh,
whole
okay.
time.
How funny. How funny. Yeah.
Anyway, that was even more boring. Getting back to you, you've written so many fascinating books. How many have you written now?
You know, I keep losing track. I think the one I just released made 49, 32 out of the series, and then the standalones. Yeah. And which is so funny because several years ago, I don't know, 7 years ago, I wrote a post for Indies Unlimited about
Right.
how I would never write a series. Ever. You know?
Everybody said that.
Yeah, I guess. And the first thing I did was I wrote a time travel novel set in Fort Verde, where my husband was the volunteer, just for fun, about a guy that goes back in time in Arizona to the fort, blah, blah, blah. And when I got to the end of the book, I thought, well, there's more to it, So I wrote a second one. And then I thought, okay, that's it. And and was still a little embarrassed about that I had actually written a sequel, but I liked it and I thought it was worthwhile. And what I was always afraid of was that if I wrote more than one book, I wouldn't have the same inspiration, and it would be simply mechanical, and just get the plot points in line and use the same characters, and I didn't want to ever have to force it. But so when I started writing this one, I wrote the first one, Ghost Walk. Hello.
There it is. Ghost Walk.
There it is. Yeah. And before I was half done, I was already making notes for the second one.
Steamrock, yeah.
Steamrock, And
That's a great title.
Pardon me?
That's a great title. Especially.
Thanks. It's worked out real well. But it's been that way with almost every book. Before I get a book done, I'm already jotting notes for the next one. And as soon as I finish one and get it edited and everything, I'm jumping into the next one. And it's never felt forced. And I've never felt like I've had to look for the plot points, look for the story, and always they just come to me. So I figure, well, as long as the ideas keep coming, I'll just keep writing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was just talking the other day with, well, it's been L.J. Smith, who writes wrote the Vampire Diaries when it was good,
Okay.
and that she had it taken away from her. It went to hell in a Gucci handbag.
Oh,
But she was saying that that's the thing about series, is that they sort of germinate in your head, and you never really close the story.
yeah.
And it's, I have a lot of sympathy for poor old Arthur Conan Doyle,
Oh,
because he, like he said,
You
he could never.
forgot Arthur Conan Doyle?
What's that?
Melissa has 13 books on Audible.
I know.
yes, I do. Yeah.
That's where I read all my books.
Oh,
So-
do you? Yeah.
Now, how come you've got 13 and G.S. Bowersock has one and that person's above you?
I don't know. You got me. I
Any
don't know.
relation?
I don't know. Don't know.
Well, it's not a terribly common name, but
It's called The Throne of Adults by G.W. Bowersock.
I think I've seen that when I've done random searches. No clue who he is. Probably related somewhere.
somewhere.
But no clue who he is.
Well,
Yeah.
well, that's the way it goes.
Well, which one of your books on Audible should I start with?
Well, if you
I like
want
sci-fi.
sci-fi, I don't think I have any sci-fi. I have a
You said you had a
Pardon
time
me?
travel. That one's not on there.
yes. The two Travis books, Finding Travis and Being Travis, those are both on Audible.
Those are both. Well,
yeah.
all of the writing is great.
Yeah.
So.
The latest one that was just released is called The Field Where I Died, which is, without giving away too much, it's about reincarnation. And that's a good one. Then I've got like 11, I can't remember, more than 10, I think, of my walk books, the Sam and Lacey books. I have Sonnets for Heidi, which is kind of women's fiction, and Burning Through, which is a ghost story. And then my one nonfiction, the one about my aunt who was a prisoner of war in World War II.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a brilliant book.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. That was weird because, I mean, I'm a novelist and I didn't want to write that. But what happened was all her generation are gone and above, of course. And I got to thinking about her one day. And of course, I knew, I'd grown up with the story that she had been captured by the Japanese and was a prisoner of war. But I never knew the details. And of course, when I was younger, I really wasn't interested. I didn't ask. But so one day I did a Google search on her just for fun and found out that the Historical Society in Wisconsin, which is where she lived, had 2 scrapbooks that my grandmother made while my aunt was in service. And she kept every letter and every telegram and every issue, every newspaper article and photo. They were all in there. And so I called the Historical Society and told them who I was. And I said, can I see these? Is it possible to come and look at it? He said, yeah. You want me to send you PDFs of the whole thing? Yes. So I've got PDFs of both scrapbooks and all the letters and everything. And I thought, I have to tell this story, because otherwise this is all just going to stay shoved in a drawer somewhere and nobody's ever going to know. So I thought I have to write a book.
Exactly. And probably pushing you to do it.
Yeah. But it was weird to not be able to change things. my job was very conscribed. I had to stay with the facts. If I didn't know a specific, I couldn't put it in. I couldn't guess. You know, I felt more like a reporter than a writer. You know, just setting the factual information down, and yet still bringing in the personalities of the people that I knew. You know,
Right.
but it was very different than writing fiction. Yeah.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I know I've written 3 nonfiction.
Have you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I wrote The Dark Companion, which was back many, many years ago. And that was about the production and all of that of the original series, Dark Shadows.
Yeah.
And I wrote Guide to the Green Hornet, which was a similar kind of thing for the Green Hornet. And I
Okay.
got to interview all of Bruce Lee's family and Dan, who was still alive at the time, and the fellow who played the Green Hornet.
Okay.
And that was a wonderful thing. And you know, it's just not my thing. I think I was born to be a fiction writer. And
Yeah. Well, and I feel like you use your brain very differently when you're
you
writing
do,
fiction and nonfiction. Yeah.
yeah. It's kind of like writing an essay for school. It's that same kind of brain.
Yeah.
Keep the facts together, make notes, all this. Whereas fiction writing is different for each person. And
Yeah.
I think that's, nonfiction is, everybody writes nonfiction the same way within a certain framework.
I
But
would guess. Yeah. Yeah.
fiction writers each have their own formula.
Yeah,
And
and you know, and the field is wide open, you know. But with nonfiction, you're really, you know, you don't have to plot the story out because it's already done, you know, and you just have to make it interesting. But the one thing that I kept thinking about while I was writing it was that I had to be able to feel like when I was done that I could hand that book to my aunt and not flinch, you know. So that's, you know, it's like she was, you know, reading over my shoulder the whole time.
but now that it's Halloween, so I guess I should ask this question. Do you believe in spirits and ghosts and reincarnation and all of that sort of thing?
I do. Yeah. I have not had any ghostly experiences, and I don't think I want to because I'm kind of a scaredy cat. You know, I'm afraid of the dark. But yeah, I do believe in ghosts and reincarnation. Matter of fact, I'm a hypnotherapist, and
Ah,
I do past life regressions.
fabulous.
Yeah, and so in my training and my internship and everything, I've seen about 20 of my past lives. And
Fabulous.
yeah, and I absolutely believe in reincarnation. I think it's fascinating.
Mark and I had, I don't know if Mark will want to relate his, but we both lost family members over the last year.
Oh,
Our little sister died, and
oh,
then Mark lost his wife.
oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I got, I think, the clear signal from my little sister, our little sister. I was sitting here asleep, and I woke up, and my iPad is never far, you know. So I reached over for it to see what time it was, and this music app I didn't even know I had been open,
Uh-huh.
and it was open to a song I don't even remember downloading,
Huh.
and I'm Still Here by Mindy McCready. Well,
Really?
my little sister's name was Mindy. That
Oh,
was her nickname.
wow. That is cool.
Yeah. And then, Mark, may I tell your story? Would you rather not?
Well, what about the text message?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird. When my wife passed away, a few weeks later, I took her phone down because my daughter's phone, her son dropped it in the toilet and destroyed it.
Yeah.
So I was going to give her my wife's phone. So I took it to AT&T, had them wipe it,
Right.
and changed the telephone number to my daughter's phone. So a couple of days later, I get a text message from my wife's phone number.
Yeah.
And there was nothing in it. It was just a blank text message. But how could I possibly get a text message from a phone that doesn't exist anymore?
Yeah. Right.
That's what I didn't understand what was going on.
Well,
Well,
and
I
what I have heard is that people that have passed over can pretty easily manipulate electronics for some reason. I don't know why, but I remember when I worked for the phone company, there was a woman that I think her husband died, and the phone kept ringing, and there was nobody there, and she couldn't figure it out. And she was just kind of beside herself and didn't know what to do about it. Well, so one day she was doing something, and here the phone rang again, and she went to answer it, and it wasn't even plugged in.
Now that's weird.
That's weird. But I have heard that spirits can manipulate electronics fairly easily. You know, flicking, turn the lights off and on and stuff like that.
Remember the Night Gallery episode with the kid with the toy telephone?
yeah,
Uh,
Twilight Zone.
And he was talking to his grandmother?
You know,
I think it was Night Gallery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what's interesting is a couple days after Mark got that, I answered the telephone and the person hung up. So I hit, the thing to look at the backlog of calls.
Uh-huh.
And I had gotten a call from my little sister's phone.
Really?
Well, my little sister's phone was sitting in a bag in my closet, out of juice,
Uh-huh.
not active.
Okay.
I deactivated it.
Yeah.
And I'm going,
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, I mean,
That's
I
very
think
cool.
stuff happens.
That's
And
very
Well,
cool.
I've never been one to believe in paranormal stuff. My grandfather had pneumonia and he was in the hospital. He was in his mid-80s. So I went to visit him and he says, it's weird the kind of stuff you dream. He says, I dreamed last night that my wife, who had been dead for about 6 months, I guess.
Okay.
And he says, and Ruth and my brother, Bill, I think it was, yeah, that they had come to the foot of his bed and told him it was time to come with him.
Oh.
And he says, I told him, no, I don't want to go. I want to stay and watch the grandkids and so forth.
Yeah.
So, he laughed about it. And so I left, went home. Before I got home, the hospital had called and said that he had died.
Wow.
Now that was very
Yeah.
weird.
You know, and I had a similar experience with my mom. My mom had pneumonia also, and she was in a private care home. And my husband and I went over, and this was maybe 4 days before she died. And we went over to see her, and I sat down next to her, and she was resting, but she looked over at me, and her face was almost glowing, and she smiled at me, and just the look on her face was kind of like, where did you come from, and just kind of a wonder to it. And we talked for a few minutes, and then I could see that she was tired, so I said, I'm going to let you rest. And she laid down and turned her head aside, and I went across the room to where my dad and my husband were, and was talking to them. And I looked back across the room, and my mom was lying there with her eyes closed, but she was reaching out with one hand, And I just knew that probably my grandmother and her sisters were there for her,
Yeah.
you know. And I think I always thought if my mom could have run to the other side, she would have. You know, she had no fear and she was just ready to go. She was just tired of, being sick and everything. But just seeing her there, lying there with her hand out, reaching out to somebody that I couldn't see, it just it was wonderful. It was wonderful, and I thought that was her gift to me. I'm gonna tear up, but to show me how ready she was to go.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
And I know a lady who is a hospice nurse.
Yeah.
And she has told me many stories of this one elderly lady who was blind.
Mm-hmm.
And she sat up, and this is a woman who'd been very ill with cancer for months. She sat up, which she couldn't do normally, and looked straight ahead and said, "Will you look at that?"
Oh.
I said, "What do you see?" She says, "They all come for me."
Yeah.
And the next day she was gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And and I mean, how can you not believe that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just you come to a point when you hear enough of those stories and you experience things in your own life that I think there's a good chance that we hang around.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I've had so much fun with my series because each situation is different, and the ghosts stay for different reasons. Um, sometimes it's they're tied by anger or regret or some kind of emotion. Sometimes it's that something's left unfinished. There's something they still need to do. But I've had so much fun just kind of exploring the different avenues of this. Um, and Sam, the medium, I mean, he's way smarter than I am, and he has an intrinsic spiritual nature, so he understands it. But I've just had a ball exploring this. And I just feel very, very grateful that I've been able to do it, and that so many people are enjoying the series too.
Yeah, well, you have a very loyal reader, and
I do, yeah.
they follow you very closely.
Yeah, I had one gal say that she wanted to marry Sam, and I've had a couple of people say they want to live next door to Sam and Lacey. They want to be their best friends, So that's pretty cool.
Are you getting the fan fiction people yet?
No, I'm not that I'm aware of. Yeah.
It's probably out there. You just don't want to read it.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
I say that as a joke. I used to write fan fiction when I was young.
Yeah.
And that's where I got my start.
Oh,
And
okay.
In fact, so did Lisa Smith, L.J. Smith. She wrote fan fiction stuff, so it's a very common thing. So I'm not making fun of fan fickers.
Yeah, I had a daughter-in-law that wrote some of that, and I read it, and it was interesting, and she did a good job with it. Just hasn't ever been anything that I have jumped to. Yeah.
It either is.
It's funny, but the best thing that I ever read that Melody wrote was like one of the first things you wrote.
Yeah.
The one about the lady that took her mom out to lunch.
Oh yeah.
And it turned out her mom was in an urn, and she had taken her ashes to lunch.
Okay. Okay. I guess I didn't read that one. Yeah.
No, we're talking a literary chapbook about 40 years ago.
I see. Okay.
But I liked it.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's cool. That's cool.
See, you've read more than The Dark Shadows Companion. Anyway, Well, Melissa, it has been a joy having you here. And
Well, thank you so much. It's been fun.
yeah,
Well, I hope you get some money off of Audible because I'll be listening to your books.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm
you have
sure
a new fan.
a few dollars here and there. And I hope you enjoy. You know what? I'll tell you what. If you see something that you really like, let me know. I can send you a free promo code to download the book for free.
Well, I have an account with Audible, so
Oh,
I get 6 credits a month. So,
oh,
but I appreciate that though. Thank you.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Let me know what you think.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great.
Well, bless you. You have a great day. And I'm very sorry about Annie, but
Oh,
Lily looks like a darling baby.
you know what? She is, and I mean, we still cry over Annie, but Lily is definitely easing the pain, and of course we're both sleep deprived now. You know,
Yeah.
getting up with a baby every night several times, but
Yeah.
yeah, but we love them. We love them.
Great. All right. You have a great Halloween, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks again.
Nice meeting you.
Thanks, Mark. You too.
She's wonderful, isn't she?
Yep.
Yeah. And anyway, we let's see, what were we going to wrap up with? I'm trying to remember. What are you going to do next week? Have you been?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Every week is just like I'll find something because I ran out of stuff to say last time by myself.
Okay.
It's hard to do one of these by yourself.
I know. Well, I tell you what, I will come in next week and we'll do it'll be near your birthday, so he will be turning 27 and
37. Yes, that's right.
we're both
You can
Mark.
tell.
I believe it or not, I'm the little sister.
Yep, she's my little sister.
Okay, I get notes from people asking, how much older are you than Mark? I'm the little sister.
She's the little sister.
I am. Anyway, but yeah, despite the fact I'm wearing a silly hat. But anyway, the what we can talk about what we're going to talk about next week, and maybe we'll drag a
We'll
friend
get
in.
together during the week and talk about it.
Sounds good. Anyway, everybody, you guys have a great Halloween. Beware of black-eyed children. You don't want those people in your house. They apparently abscond with your valuables and all of that kind of thing. Black-eyed children.
Really?
It's an old paranormal thing.
Oh,
There's children that have no. They have no. You know, it's like X-Files eyes.
and just remember, nobody really puts razor blades in apples.
No,
Nobody poisons candy.
it never happened.
It's never once happened. It's like the same thing with the TSA at the airport. Do you know how many bombs the TSA have discovered? 0.
Goose egg. A lot of this is just to scare the crap out of us. But so eat your candy, but not too much. You know, you don't want to get.
Any candy you don't want, send it to me.
Yeah, or me. And I can give it to Larry.
She's. I was pointing with the wrong head. She's skinny. She ain't gonna be eating candy.
No. Well, I get to eat some candy. I just can't eat a lot of it because my stomach is the size of a goose egg. So that's the way that goes. However,
I was dreaming about eating candy bars the other night.
oh, I dream all the time. I was in a Paris pâtissier in a dream, eating, pastry. I woke up going, oh, thank God that was just a dream because I'd be so sick. I can't eat high fat stuff now because the way my stomach is, it makes me ill. That anyway, you have a great Halloween. Give my love to everybody.
Will do. You too.
And we will see all of you. There's 7 watching us right now. Don't pay any attention to the little eye thing lying. So we will see all of you and all the ones who watch us on YouTube next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.